So what's happening, Big K.A.? We back in this thing. K too good. He sleep with K.A.Vuitton. You know the big dog. He want a ton. So we back. We here to talk about this shit. Now, if you don't know, everybody who listens to the Joe Budden podcast, basically, I knew this would probably happen with Drake dropping these first the petition and now suing UMG for defamation with the whole Kendrick Lamar thing. I did a video on it. Go check it out. But anyways, with that being said, I was like, the podcast might not be free this week, or he usually drops Wednesday and Saturday, and we have like the regular pod. I was like, he might put this one behind a paywall, and which he did. And honestly, mostly him, I mean, his cast did as well. I feel like Ish was kind of the only one being the most fair in a sense. Ice was as well. He was kind of in the middle as well, but everybody else was just like, eh. But they kind of kicked Drake's back in. Not to say like I'm a Aubrey fucking angel or a Drake defender or an OVO ovulator. I learned that one. I didn't know that was a word. I learned that one. But basically, they were kicking us back. And if you don't know what happened, basically, Drake put out a petition and he sued UMG for basically, and Spotify. Well, the petition was more towards Spotify. He sued UMG for defamation, but regardless, he's basically saying they used fake bots to stream up Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, basically advertised it when it shouldn't have been advertised. Like if somebody was listening to country or a different genre, or to get advertised in there as well, and yada yada yada. They're just all against him, basically making Siri play the song when you ask for like Drake or another artist or whatever have you. And it is what it is. Now, I will say this. It is a conversation I didn't have in the last video when I reported on it. I just reported on it and like the optics and how this looks from Drake and if he's corny or whatever. In the sense, you were kind of benefiting off of this. Let's not act like, bro, every time that nigga dropped, especially in his heyday, this nigga was all over Rap Caviar. He was on these big-ass playlists. He was getting all these streams. I wouldn't be surprised if he benefited from it as well. And as much as we're looking at this nigga as being corny, if he does have a point, and it is proven that these niggas was doing that shit, other artists could say some shit as well. Like, so, again, if somehow there's some validity towards this shit, it could change the game for some of these other artists, I will say. And then also now has me thinking what these bundle deals have to do with shit as well. Because the bundles as well be on some bullshit as well. If we really trying to hear that conversation. It's just a all jumbled mess. Now again, it's not like a great song. It is. It's hard. It got some bop to it. I'm not going to lie to you. I stated this in the last video. But maybe it was getting pushed. I didn't think it was getting pushed. Now again, bots, everybody use bots for views and shit. Drake has benefited off of it. Other artists have. Like I spoke on the other video about the YB Better thing. I'm pretty sure there was bots in there as well. Like again, a lot of these artists benefit from this shit. The label might even pay for it unbeknownst to the fucking artist as well. Sorry, my life be acting weird as fuck right now, so sorry about it. But unbeknownst to the artist, the fucking labels be using that shit for promotion as well, just to make your ass look good or whatever, and get yourself some good streams or whatever. Look how you have a good first week, because that's really all I care about, the first week, for whatever reason. I guess that's supposed to set the tone of success of your project or whatever have you. But it's just crazy. Now, if you didn't watch the podcast, I'm gonna kind of sum it up for you. It's Patreon exclusive. Basically, they was kind of kicking his back in. He was calling Drake a bitch. By the way, as much as I do fuck with Joe Budden, I don't know why he was talking about baby mama drama with Drake. Like, it was just like, bro, like, if we gonna talk about the lawsuit, that's fair enough. Why the fuck you bringing up that nigga baby mama? Like I said last time, the whole time when Drake was on that whole little soliloquy and he DM'd him and he had that long ass post about Joe Budden. Again, I mostly agreed with Joe. My only thing with Joe is like, Joe, sadly, you cannot tell that nigga who he can fuck. At the end of the day, you cannot. Especially with your history, you cannot tell that nigga who the fuck. So, you wrong for that. Shh. At the end of the day. And like this baby mama thing, I was like, bro, what the fuck is he? Like, who cares? Don't give a fuck about that. Calling them all types of B words and all this and that. And it's like, as much as I do like Joe, and again, don't get me wrong, I was one of the people when Drake dissed Joe. I was like, hey, I need wife beater Joe back views Joe when you was going on rants about this nigga and all this other shit. Don't get me wrong. And maybe we kind of got a little bit of that back with this paywall shit he's doing. But with that being said, I also do have to look at Joe as See, a critique Joe has is he hates Drake, and Joe's like, I don't hate Drake. But at some point, we do have to look at some of this like, you kind of don't like that nigga. For whatever have you. Maybe this has benefited Drake in the past, and maybe it hurt Joe's career. I don't fucking know. But like, yeah, it does look like at some points when you talk with so much passion and I don't know, but it sounds like a bit of vitriol in your voice towards the kid from Canada. It looks like, bro, you do have some type of hatred towards him. I don't know. You do. We're not gonna act like Not Like Us wasn't a banger and Kendrick won the battle. Let's keep it a book. We're not gonna act like the new album, GNX, is a good album. It is a good fucking album. But like at some point, I do gotta look at you with some of this vitriol and shit you're doing. Now again, does the lawsuit look great? No, it doesn't. It makes Drake look corny. The one thing about Drake is he always parades himself around, and I spoke about this in the other video, like he doesn't care or whatever. I'm Drake, I'm the big dog, but clearly you care. You wouldn't drop this shit. I get it. He's calling you a PDF file. It's not great. And he stated he lost some money because of it, yada, yada, yada. And honestly, part of this, I do feel like he's trying to get out of his deal. Maybe his deal wasn't all that's cracked up to be. And again, I was perplexed when he was dropping the albums at that quick rate, and I was confused because Drake usually doesn't do that. So I was confused. I'm like, nigga, is you trying to get out your deal? Like, because I'm like, And like, yeah, now we're, again, axe speculation with the 100 gigs about him trying to, like, scare record labels. A part of it. Because now we know, yes, Drake does own some of his music, or owns, like, a big part of his music, but he can't do anything he wants with it. There's still a licensing thing and all that. So yeah, he could drop this shit all he fucking wants on Instagram and do all that bullshit. But yeah, them niggas could take it down. Yeah, they can. You own this shit. You gonna get a check from that shit if they use some of that shit, but that's what we learned. But anyways, calling them the B word, just speaking his vitriol and all this other shit that Joe was speaking. Hey, if you have Patreon, or there's probably clips on Twitter at the moment, y'all could go listen to the fucking podcast. However you gonna get it, but at some point, I just gotta call a spade a spade. Again, I don't know their relationship or what little issues they have, but it does sound a bit like hate towards the nigga. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I agree with him, like, this looks away and all this other shit. But some of the other tangents he was going on about this other shit. By the way, I don't know why. I think apparently Steve Lacy's Drake's op, which I don't fucking know. But anyways, when they were discussing this shit, yes, it doesn't look the greatest, but I also do have to look at Joe like, nigga, you have some hate towards the nigga. You could sit there all you want and say all this other shit, but you kind of have hate towards the nigga. Or a love-hate relationship with the nigga. You do. And it's okay. Just say so. Because this is perplexing at this point, you know what I'm saying? It's very perplexing. It is. Because the more I hear about this, and it's like, especially that bullshit he did when Drake responded on, like, Scary Hours 3, like, when he kind of responded to some of this shit Joe said in those 5 songs, and Joe was just sitting there mean mugging, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fo, no. Just keep it a buck and say your piece, you hear me? Just keep it a buck. You don't like that nigga for whatever reason. Your relationship with Sour, it's okay. I'm not gonna say your relationship is biased or view anything you say about him as biased, but there's certain pockets and certain things you have said. I'm like, nigga, you was doing too much. You was doing a little too much. You just calling that nigga all types of B word. I ain't gonna lie. You honestly, I don't know what fracture that. I don't know. Because again, as much as yes, he was reporting on it and he did have valid points when Drake and Kendrick were going, when the songs were dropping, it did sound a little bit like hate. I ain't gonna lie, it did. Some of that shit you was saying, it sounded like hate, like you did not like that nigga. So hey, we'll see. We will see. But yeah, bro, this beef was kind of almost over, and then Drake, well, not over. It would be over to the Super Bowl. Now Drake drops this fucking lawsuit bullshit, nigga. This shit gonna go on and on and on and on. And I ain't even talk about the slight little jabs Kendrick threw at that nigga on the album. But let's keep going. We'll see. What do y'all think? Comments down below. Links in the description. Besides that, friendly neighborhood K.A. signing off for today. Black TJ Dead Wilder doing this thing. My name ring bells like Quasimodo. Hit like, subscribe, try and hit a little bit more to hear me. I'm gone. Shalom, zoom, peace, y'all. Gang.